Hello everyone, welcome to the video lecture series of Theory of Automata and Formal Languages. We are into unit number 3 where we are discussing about context-free grammar and its various topics. Okay, and we are into part number 7 or lecture number 7 where we will be discussing about two parts of simplification of CFG. Okay, and these two parts carries one is Chomsky Normal Form and the other one is Grayback Normal Form. Okay, actually this is a part of a simplification of CFG only, where we have to convert a particular context-free grammar into a particular normal form, or you can say in a particular format, which is given by Chomsky, and that is Chomsky Normal Form. Okay. So basically I will give you the definition, and you have to, in these two formats, that is Chomsky Normal Form and Grayback Normal Form, shortly we used to pronounce as CNF and GNF. In these two topics we have to understand, or we have to memorize two formats. Okay, for CNF we have to memorize one format, and for GNF we have to memorize another format, and the steps to convert that also you have to keep in mind. Okay, now what the definition of Chomsky Normal Form says, that a context-free grammar is in CNF if the productions are of the form alpha tends to beta, where alpha will be always a single non-terminal. Okay, and if it is a format of a single non-terminal, single terminal, or a single non-terminal followed by two non-terminals, not more than that. Clear? So if the productions are of this format, then we can say that that particular CFG is in CNF. Clear? Actually, the concept is that you will be given a particular CFG. It might comprise of a combination of terminals or non-terminals. Some or the other you have to bring in these two formats. Clear? Again, I am repeating. A single non-terminal will be always in the left-hand side. Okay, followed by either a single terminal or a combination of two non-terminals. That's it. Clear? Now the steps for conversion of CFG into CNF I have already mentioned over here. Number one step, that this is actually not mandatory, okay, but it is mentioned in the book, so you can note it down, that if the start symbol S occurs on some right side, okay, create a new start symbol S dash and then a new production S dash tends to S. Suppose this is a production that starts with suppose S, okay, S tends to A. Then I have to create a new production initially, and I have to name it as S dash tends to S. This is not mandatory, okay. So main concept comes from step number 2. Okay. Now what step number 2 says? Step number 2 says that remove the null productions. As in the previous lecture we have dealt with reduction of CFG, removal of unit productions, removal of null productions, correct? So first step, you have to check whether there is any, if there is any null production. If there, then you have to remove that by following the properties or the steps that we have discussed. Then we have to remove unit productions if there is any. Okay, now these two top points, that is 4th and 5th, you can pause the video and you can note down all these points. Okay, in 4th and 5th point, 4th point you can check it out. If a production is of the form A tends to all non-terminals, A tends to all non-terminals, left hand side is always okay, no problem about that. Right hand side, if it is like this, then this B1 you have to replace by another term, or else after B1 from B2 till Bn you have to replace by capital letter that is non-terminal. Again you have to follow this process, because C will be replaced by B2 to Bn, right? Again B2 and then again followed by another non-terminal. By anyhow you have to bring into this format two non-terminals, not more than that, because in this format you are having n number of non-terminals. Like this CFG will not given to you, but it's just a step. Okay, we will deal with an example, then it will be much clear. This is one format. Another format may be of like this: A tends to small letter a, that means non-terminals implies terminal combination of non-terminal, that means two, only two. Then this terminal symbol can be replaced by another non-terminal like this. and this you can replace over here. So it will be a combination of two non-terminal, and this will be a single terminal. So this is a particular format, correct? So these are the steps that you can keep in mind, but let us check an example how to work on it. Okay, for this I have brought a example. Okay, the example says that convert the following CFG into CNF, and the CFG is given to you. Now, if you look at this particular one, this is not in CNF, right? Either this one is not in CNF. This is also not in CNF. This is also not in CNF. This is in CNF and this is in CNF, correct? Because a non-terminal followed by a terminal, or a non-terminal followed by a terminal. So these are in CNF. So I have to work on only these points. But before that, we have to check whether there is any null production or unit production. Oh my god, there is a null unit production, but there is, null production is also there, unit production is also there. So we have to work on step number 2 and 3, correct? So here, step number 1 you can follow, you can write it down like this. Step number 1 will be like this: ki S dash, new symbol, a new non-terminal I have used, and S dash tends to S, and then you can write the entire productions. So you might be thinking, what is this? This is nothing but I am keeping S in another part. Okay, actually this is the step given to you, but I feel like a useless one. Okay, so then again S tends to AB, A tends to B, A tends to S, B tends to B, and B tends to epsilon. So these are the productions that I am having in step number 1. Now step number 2. Okay, step number 2 says that removal of null production. Here we are having only one null production. P tends to this one. And are we having any null production? If we check properly, are we having any null production? Yes, we will be having one more null production. If suppose B implies epsilon, right? If I put this B implies epsilon over here, then A will also be A implies epsilon will also be a null production, right? So I have to use either A tends to epsilon and B tends to epsilon. So these are the two processes that I have to delete. Okay, so now first of all I will be checking with B tends to epsilon. Now I will be removing this. Now if I remove this, first I won't be considering this part. First I will be working on these parts. Okay, so S tends to ASA. We are dealing with only B tends to epsilon, right? So there is no B, so leave as it is. Okay, now next S tends to AB. Now if I replace B by epsilon, then what will be the another one? A, correct? Now next is A tends to epsilon. A tends to B. A tends to B means what? A tends to B. Okay, then A tends to, if I replace B by small letter epsilon, then what will be the answer? Epsilon. And then again B by S. Yes, this is one more case, correct? And again if I replace B by small letter b, then this one is also a case, correct? But I am replacing B by epsilon, so I won't be considering this particular case. Clear? Now what is left out? B tends to B, and I am not reusing B tends to epsilon. This is what I am removing it. I am removing it. So I won't be using the second part of B, which is B tends to epsilon. This I won't be considering. Clear? Now as I got a new production A tends to epsilon, this I also need to remove. Correct? If I remove this, S tends to A as A. If I remove the first part, then SA. If I remove the second part, then AS. If I remove both the parts, then S. Clear? Or is there any part? Yes. Next is S tends to AB. S tends to AB. Now there is no capital letter A, so remain as it is. And then finally, what I left out with, A tends to B and A tends to epsilon, I have to remove to A tends to S I got. Clear? Any doubt? Okay, now left out with B and B tends to small letter b. Clear? So till now the removal of epsilon is done, correct? And if I merge these two conditions, then what will be the answer? The answer will be like this. If I merge these two conditions, the answer will be S tends to A as A. I've taken this one is this one common, correct? Then S tends to AB, sorry, A capital letter B, correct? Then S tends to A, I've taken. Then S from here, ASA I have already taken, SA, then AS, and then S. All these things I have taken, correct? Now next, this S is done. Now A tends to B. I have to remove epsilon, so I won't be considering this. S, nothing is there, so this is removed, this is done. Then here I will be taking A tends to B and S, already I have taken, right? So remain as it is. Now B tends to small letter b. Clear? Any doubt? So this is done. So finally I got this production after removal of epsilon, null production. Clear? Now I will be working on this. Now step number 3 says that remove unit productions. So after removing of unit production, what will be the answer? Step number 3, after removal of unit production. So unit production here is S tends to S, A tends to B, A tends to S, correct? Clear? So now if now we are having like this, A tends to B and B tends to B. Since A tends to capital letter B and capital letter B tends to B, therefore A tends to what? Small letter b. Transitivity property, removal of unit production, because in previous lecture I have already explained to you, correct? Therefore now A tends to B will be the, A tends to terminal B will be the removal, right? Now S tends to S and A tends to S, correct? So I can also write like this, since A tends to S and S tends to S, okay? Okay, now if now I'm telling you that now we are considering this part. See, now S tends to S, capital letter S tends to S, and we know that capital letter S tends to this entire part, correct? So I can use this. So it will be like S tends to A S A, A B, A S A, A S. Clear? So we got this S, and S has been removed by all. Is there any kind of unit production over here? No. This is also being replaced. Now is there any one that is left out? No. Everything is done. Okay, now therefore the final CFG will be what? S tends to ASA, AB, ASA, AS. Clear? Now A tends to B and B tends to B. Already I got that A tends to B. Clear? And A tends to S and S tends to already this one. Therefore, this will be again repeated. Clear? Any doubt? Because again I am repeating, A tends to S, A tends to capital letter S, and S tends to, I already got this one. So A tends to capital letter S will be replaced by this entire part. Clear? And then finally we are left out with B tends to small letter b. Now you can check that is there any unit production left out. See, capital letter S leave as it is. Is there any unit production? No. Is there any unit production? No. So all unit productions has been removed. So this is the final CFG after I got after removal of null production and unit production. Now we have to focus only on the format of CNF. Clear? Now step number 4. In step number 4 we have to check whether it is in CNF or not. Now S, what are not in CNF? S tends to ASA. This is not in CNF, correct? Is this in CNF? No, this is not in CNF. Correct. Is this in CNF? Yes, a single terminal. Is this in CNF? Yes. Is this in CNF? Yes. So from this only we got these two format, right? These two production. Now coming to A. Now we have to work on these only, right? This will be remain as it is. So keep in mind, in final answer you have to also mention this. Don't leave as it is, okay? Now A tends to B. This is in CNF, correct? Because single terminal. Is this in CNF? No, this is not in CNF. ASA. Is this in CNF? No, this is not in CNF. So it is already repeated one, right? So these are all in CNF. B tends to B. It is in CNF. Yes, it is in CNF. Now only we need to remove this. So how to remove this? First I will take S tends to ASA. Now if I replace this AS, if I replace this AS by some other non-terminal, or else you can also take that this one AS tends to AS. So in this AS you can write S also, correct? This also you can write, or else you can write it like this XA and X tends to AS. Like this also you can write it down. There is no big deal, because we have to check that in the right hand side only we have to find out two non-terminals, and that is what we have find out. Clear? Now next, similarly A tends to ASA. I am working on these two first. Okay, ASA. Again I can write it down by MA, and M is replaced by AS, or you can also write it down by same X. That depends on you. I won't. It depends on you that you want to introduce a new variable or not. It's depend. There is no like foundation over there. Clear? And finally, I am left out with S tends to AB and A tends to AB. Now, since is there any small letter A? Yes. S tends to A. S tends to small letter A. So either this you can replace by capital letter S, or you can replace by a new non-terminal. Suppose I am using a new non-terminal like this. S tends to suppose PB, and similarly I have replaced this one by P, and this one also P. Therefore A tends to PB and P is replaced by small letter A. Now you can check that finally that I have got S tends to XA, X tends to AS are all in CNF. A tends to MA is in CNF. M tends to AS is in CNF. S tends to PB is in CNF. A tends to PB is in CNF, and P tends to small letter A is also in CNF. Therefore, you can write all these and combine with this one and then put it into a new CFG. Okay, so let me write down for you. Can I use a new paper? I don't have right now a space, so I can note it down that the final grammar that I have found out is that using this particular part, okay, using this particular part, I can write down that finally I got, in place of SA, I can write down S tends to XA, correct? XA, and then X tends to AS. Clear? And S tends to AB. In place of AB, what we have got? S tends to PB. So PB I can write over here. Correct? Then A tends to, similarly A tends to ASA. A tends to ASA, you got MA. Correct? And M tends to what? M tends to, you got AS. Clear? And A tends to AB. What you got? A tends to PB. And P tends to what? Small letter A. Now these I have got after removal of this. Now I have to include other productions as well, right? So what are the other productions that I have got? I have got S tends to small letter A, SA and AS, and then A tends to B, then A, SA and AS, and B tends to small letter B. Here, so this is the final grammar that I have got, and now you have to finally check that whether this is in CNF or not. XA, two combination of two non-terminals, one single terminal, two non-terminal. So this is all in CNF. This is also in CNF. Already I have told you. This is in CNF. This is in CNF. Yes, two non-terminals, single terminal, two non-terminal. Again, two non-terminals. Correct. Single terminal. So this is the final CNF that you have got. So the main concept behind this is that you have to deal with only these 5 steps that I have already mentioned to you. First, you have to check that whether it is you have to remove the null production, then you have to remove the unit production, then you have to replace the production, and you have to put it into a format that is already I have told you the CNF format, that is A tends to small letter a, that means either in a single terminal or a combination of two non-terminals. Great. So this is the general working process, or to find out a particular CNF from a given context-free grammar. Okay. Now, if you are having any doubt over this particular topic, please let me know, and you can also comment down below with your queries. And after 1 or 2 lectures, already unit 3 is done, only one lecture is left out. Okay, Grayback normal form and Chomsky hierarchy. After that, we can discuss on the pattern wise questions, at least 20 to 25 questions I will give it to you. Okay, and that I will give it in the last lecture description. Okay, with solution. Okay, thank you for watching the video. We will meet you in the next lecture with the topic Grayback normal form.